are live.
The December 9th, 2025 regular Planning Commission meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Before we begin, commissioners, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are speaking telephonically, please mute your phone unless you are speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Will the planning clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Stafford?
Here.
Commissioner Seals?
Here.
Commissioner Deyoung?
Here.
Commissioner Langill?
Here.
Commissioner Seals, you do have a quorum with Commissioners Brown, Langill, Deyoung, and Stafford in the chambers.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will Commissioner Brown please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business is approval of the agenda. Before changes are discussed, are there conflicts of interest to declare? If the commission would like to discuss anything under the consent agenda, such as the minutes, they need to be removed from the consent agenda and placed under new business at this time. Are there any changes to the agenda?
approve the agenda.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brown,
Second.
by Commissioner Deyoung to approve the agenda. Will the clerk call for a roll call vote?
Oh, do I need to?
No, but we're gonna do it.
Okay.
It's here.
Okay, yep. I put that in the script. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Deyoung?
Yes.
Commissioner Langill?
Yes.
The agenda is approved.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are reports. Do we have a report from our Deputy Administrator tonight?
Thank you, Chair. I do not have a report, but I'm very grateful the wind is gone.
Shh, it's supposed to come back.
Thank you. Do we have a report from our city planner tonight?
Good evening. We do have a report. The planning department has been working to streamline the permitting process. We've been reaching out to and meeting with other entities in the community. We met with the fire department last week to find out what they need from us and what we, and vice versa, so that we can streamline that process. And we've also set up, we had the borough actually reach out to us, the planning department reach out to us to set up a meeting to start collaborating and the same thing. So we're really working hard to get all the entities and the players who are involved in planning in the borough on board and communicating. And it's been well received. We had a really good meeting with the fire department, a good takeaway, a good start, and something that we're going to do on a regular basis until we get something worked out between all of us. Also, we issued our first short-term rental permit since the change in the Title 16. So that's a big win. So it went smoothly. That was a good thing to report. So, with that is all from the planning department. We're just working to learn all the things I'm working to learn all the things that I need to be able to serve this community and get all the players on board. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, Simon.
Chair to the planner. Any feedback from the first permittee on short-term permits? Good, bad, indifference?
It was good. There were no issues with it at all. It just went smoothly.
Okay.
So, nothing to report really, we just did it. So,
I thought the opposition expressed anything.
no.
Thank you.
Do we have a report tonight from our city attorney?
Oh, do you ever? All right. All right. Well, tonight we are going to start a series of trainings. It will be at least 2. I'm working with the city clerk to determine if we need a third, so we're not sure how we're going to break them out. We were unable to do the comprehensive training tonight because we really need the parliamentary piece, and that is best done by the city clerk. Most of you have worked with Jamie before. She is one of the best parliamentarians in Alaska, in my opinion. So it's an incredible resource for the commission. And so we want to make sure that we have her here. The other thing is we've been working really hard to have more sort of efficient interactions and communications. And I know Chris has been working very hard on that with the clerk's office, so that Julia gets the benefit of all of that and all of those resources. Which prior to, and I'm not talking in any immediate. I'm not talking present tense. Prior to probably the last 3 years, there really was a disconnect with those rules. We're not sure why that developed, but anyway, we're working on making sure that the planning clerk can go to the clerks for that direction. And what that does is ensures consistency through municipal practice. So it's something I'm going to talk about later. I'm guessing it's going to come up when you have a resolution on your agenda that deals with the agenda format. And so we're going to talk about it then, but really part of making sure that we're bringing back that resolution with a new number to mirror the practice of the city of Wasilla in memorializing its legislative actions, whether they're by council or by the commission. So that's just sort of an overview, but I do want you to be aware that this is, and this way you can tell me if you're like, that is not going to work for us, right? But this is our concept. This is what we think we are going to do. Tonight, the training is going to focus on the commission's duties and powers, where you are with those duties and powers and where you want to go. What's coming up this year on the agenda, for example, when are we going to hear about the CIP, that type of thing. We're going to delve into that together. So that's one. The other thing that we're going to talk about is the role of the administration and the commission and who does what, right, and why. So that what I fear is that commission members will feel like we're being obstructionist or kind of standing in the way of you meeting your goals and objectives. I want to make very clear why staff takes a position in some cases and why they don't. The last is that role between and the difference between an elected member of council and the appointed members of the commission. And just sort of spoiler alert, the main purpose, what I really want the commission members to understand is that your job, in my opinion, it rivals council as the most important job that is done in city government. You are dealing with property rights, constitutional property rights. That is extraordinarily important. And certain aspects, and you deal with the comp plan. So those two things combined are extraordinarily important. However, you are not dealing with the fiscal purse. And so there are decisions, administrative and otherwise, that are outside the purview of the commission. And I want to talk about why that is, and I want you to be able to express anger and frustration if that's where it goes, and for us to really, make sure we all understand exactly what hats we're wearing in that sense, what our role is as a commission. The training that we will follow, the next training, and this is where I am not sure if we're going to have 1 phase or 2 phases of training for this, because Jamie's at AML right now, and so we couldn't do that first. But will be a sort of parliamentarian training on how do we use resolutions, why don't we use ordinances, how do resolutions go from, and how how does the commission share its viewpoints on an ordinance, or sometimes they're directed by council, sometimes it starts with the commission and goes up to council. How does all that work together, and how does that show up on an agenda? And we'll talk about bylaws and procedures and what that process is, and we'll talk about some of the other roles. There's roles the commission plays and procedures that aren't before them right now, but will be coming up. We're gonna actually, in this 2-year period, you are gonna hit just about everything. You started with Title 16, a substantial rewrite. You're going to have phase 2 of Title 16, not this year, but next year. That'll be another, back before the commission. The commission will be at the forefront of that. And then you're going to have the CIP coming in front of them fairly soon, I think, before it goes to council, or after, but before it's adopted, approved. And you have the comprehensive plan will be coming to the commission for its approval, and your role in that is central. So all of this is coming down, and we just need to be a well-oiled machine as we work through all of these duties. So we'll take the parliamentarian piece and sort of how we move through all of that. And then the next piece is really, and is going to be a training regarding your quasi-judicial function and your legislative hats, because you are going to be taking them off interchangeably a lot this year. And that means that knowing the difference of whether you're looking at conflict or you're looking at bias. Are you worried about ex parte communications, or do you have an obligation to listen to the constituents? And is it completely appropriate for you to hear their thoughts on the comp plan, for example? So it's just going to be a constant, I'm wearing one, I'm wearing the other. So one of the things that I gave you today is just sort of a very soft entry point, is a little blue card laminated with quasi-judicial proceedings at a glance on one side, and the Open Meetings Act at a glance on the other side. And the reason why it's presented like this is the Open Meetings Act really matters most when we're looking at the legislative acts that you're taking, right? That's a decision-making in that realm. Quasi-judicial obviously shows up when you're dealing with permits. And we'll talk about what that term means and how it affects you. But that is all in the future. Does anybody have questions or concerns about that structure? Okay, so our only, where Jamie and I were not sure what it would look like is, are we going to do one training with the sort of parliamentarian piece and then tackle Open Meetings Act quasi-judicial at another training, or are we gonna do it all together? So I guess I would ask, I have one question before I start. Do you think it would be most effective to have a longer training, like a 3-hour training? Or would you rather have what's more like a 1.5 hour training and then another 1.5 hour training? Do you have feelings about that? And you don't have to answer now if you want to think about it.
Through the chair, I would really like to see a work session where it's open discussion. Right now, this is a formal meeting, and there's really not going to be a lot of give and take.
Well, and one of those things is you can, as the chair, simply relax the rules. The planning commission is very different than the city council, in that sense. So you can relax the rules and allow people to speak freely, and you can have that give and take. But we can schedule a work session, although I'll have to look into that, because I need to make sure that the planning commission, those terms, generally speaking, our work sessions are for council, and so we don't do work sessions. We simply work within the meeting that we have, so, but we can look at what that construct is, and I will be asking the city clerk about that, because again, that's sort of that consistency, setting up how do we want the commission, which is governed by Title II, which is in the city council basket, so to speak. How do we want to create that meeting? And this is a great example, and it gives us a preview of what we're going to talk about. Because if we have a work session we are scheduling a planning commission outside our regularly scheduled planning commission meetings, that costs money, right? And then we need to get staff to work the work session, and we need to go through those steps. And so the budget is different for planning than it is for the council, you know, and the council, when we look at their work sessions and special meetings and all of those things, it's really outlined in code. So we just need to make, it doesn't mean we can't do a work session. And I definitely understand, Commissioner Langill, what you're looking for is just like, can we please just freely discuss the topic? So, I mean, when I finish and when I'm giving a report, and if I ask you for your thoughts, I think that here, if it would make you feel better, we could do a motion to speak freely or whatever, but it's my report, and so it's fine for you to engage with me. You know, and to the extent that Jamie comes back and says, that's not fine, what I can say now is, legally speaking, it is important for you to get the information I'm giving you and to interact so you absorb it. And there is not going to be a situation in which we are taken to court because you ask questions during your attorney's report. There's no action item that we would be subject to any legal action on whatsoever. But that doesn't mean we don't want to get it as beautiful and clean as we can. So I would say I encourage you to ask questions. I mean, the back and forth will be really helpful for the presentation. And I do that with council as well, actually. It works really well most of the time. But I will try not to be too long-winded as well. I know it's still pretty chilly out there, so. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the difference between the commission and the duties and powers of the commission and walk through them with you. Okay, so there are two areas that we look to for the commission. We've got Title II, which is a title that is not a land use title, it's an administrative title, right? And it tells us we have one section that deals with commissions generally. That tells us how bylaws, procedures, things like that would be adopted, what that process is. It tells us, it gives us information that's general to all commissions. Then we have chapter 2.60, which is specific to the Planning Commission. And the council revisited 2.60 in 2024. And I'm sure the commissioners remember this. In part, they were making decisions regarding commission members and how the commission operates, some of which involved compensation, some of which involved the scope of duties and powers. So they've spent time really looking at that. And there was a little push and pull because the commission, who is living it, right, is not, as a matter of law, a part of that process. That process is legislative. It's the city council deciding what do we want our commissions to do, what do we want the scope of their power and authority to be, how much do we want to pay them, or pay them an honorarium, I guess is the term. All of those, how many meetings do we want to have? How many commissioners do we want to have? They are constrained in part by the statute, Title 29, which has comments regarding the structure of the commission. But most of those requirements are requirements that they can change by ordinance. The statute lets them change by ordinance. So I want to address, why would we exclude the commission from decisions that they are arguably best suited to inform, right? And the reason why is because the decisions regarding the commission often are based on fiscal decisions. So here's another one. Prior to Title 16 change, one of the things that was with the commission is fines, and for the public, right? But the commission doesn't control the purse. So you have the commission making decisions that impact the costs of doing business. And so when you have that, that means the more the commission impacts, like let's say the commission was able to say, I want you to do policies and procedures, right? And you said, we want you to do that. And That went back to the staff, and the commission directed that the policies and procedures be prepared. That probably has a price tag upwards of $5,000, maybe more. And that is because the administration is not going to develop policies and procedures without consulting an attorney. And it will take staff time. And that will have a price tag because those resources have a price tag. But it also has a cost to the roles that the commission plays. So if you have 5 permits that are being processed by the planner has to take time away from those 5 permits and put it towards the bylaws and procedures in some way. So there's all this work that needs to get done, and it creates, so it takes these legislative decisions and rests them in the commission, even though the commission hasn't been elected to make those financial decisions for the city. And I think that is the biggest reason why we have Title II, why they put those things in Title II, and why they keep the Title 16 as it stands. So it's important to understand. That's why there's a difference. That is sort of the difference between the elected role and the appointed role. That said, the duties and powers vested in the commission are extremely powerful. They are important, and they are fundamental to Wasilla's government. And so I want to walk through what those are, because it is absolutely within the body's duties and powers to ensure that they are getting to actually do the things on the list, and so we want to make sure that stays, that the commission feels empowered to do that. So let's walk through those together. So one of the things that the commission must do, again, must, so this is mandatory, they must review the land development code and make recommendations to the council regarding amendments. That means that the commission all commissioners should be reviewing the code and thinking about what they would like to see, what doesn't work. When you have those permits come before you in those appeals, a lot of times it gives you insight that that the council cannot possibly have, because you really see what it looks like on the ground. So, and I think the commission's actually done a brilliant job of this. It's why we have a new Title 29. That started with the commission. That started with was it landscape? A landscape ordinance that a landscape committee had worked on, brought it to the commission, and the commission was like, none of this is working. We've got a problem. And that conversation started and ended with the commission. It was the commission that had final approval. The Title 16 changes weren't just, the code only requires that the commission review them and give their recommendation to council. It doesn't require that the effective date or the adoption of that ordinance is conditional upon the commission's approval. Yet that is what Wasilla did, showing that it very much respects this body. So as much as I kind of started with we got to stay in our lanes, I really think your lane is exceptionally important and very wide. So and I think you're doing a great job in that lane, but that's one thing to remember. So the other thing is to prepare and submit to the council a proposed comp plan. I read that because I want you to hear the prepare and submit part. So when the consultant is bringing the comp plan to you for approval, which is also a mandatory power of the commission, I want the commission to feel empowered to ask for what is missing, to talk, to really delve in and say, this is going to be ultimately our product that we're bringing to council, recommending approval. And if you can't get it there, maybe it won't be, maybe but it also is an opportunity to see what is it having in that comp plan, what is missing, if there's anything missing, are there steps that you think need to be taken? So that process, and we will make sure we're there to sort of empower you as much as we can to engage and keep, but that is a very important role because council will be looking to the commission for its thoughts on that process. We're not there yet. So that's one thing to note. That comprehensive plan process is underway in compliance with the RFP. They are going through their steps. They are doing a great job. That is not the time for commission's involvement because those initial steps in the comp plan are designed to get at the thoughts and opinions of others. Of course, as individuals, you are also a member of this community, but when we look at the body, what you're going to do as a member of the body, the commission is acting sort of as the council, looking at what is brought to you as sort of your initial draft comp plan. So any questions about that process? Okay, all right. The next is this one does not apply as much this year because you are going to be seeing the comp plan as a whole, but annually you're going to look at one or more components of the comp plan and make sure that is working. Your planner will be carefully bringing those to you, but that does not stop the commission from saying, I want to look at this one, right? I don't want to look at that one, or maybe that one's fine, but to engage in what you want to actually review and propose amendments, if any, on. That's a role of the commission, a mandatory role. One of the interesting ones that you have, or duties, is to make determinations on state construction projects. And this is under Alaska Statute 353010. So this provision, I'm sure you're thinking, well, we haven't had many construction projects in front of us. So what are we even meeting our responsibility here? And what I would say is yes. And the reason why is that statute has an exemption. It exempts projects that are subject to a highway plan or a corridor plan. It also has exemptions for certain agreements in which the state entity has gone to the city and entered into an agreement. So generally speaking, in the interests of efficiency, state departments work within those exemptions. They make sure they have the highway plan that covers the roads and the construction that's occurring within Wasilla. So I have had discussions with their public works director just to make sure that he's very aware of this provision, so that if that's not the case, that lands on the agenda for the commission. And it will land on your agenda if it is appropriate. It'll land on your agenda within, I think it's 60 days. I think it's 60 days, might be 40 to 60 days. It's a pretty short window. If you do not weigh in that window, then the state can move forward, because the purpose is to keep that project from being delayed unnecessarily. So again, these projects we went through them. I did not see any. I talked to the public works director. This has not been triggered, but you should be aware of it, because if you see something happening in the community, it's a great thing to bring up to staff so they can make sure that what the likely scenario is that's subject to a plan that is exempted from this role of the commission, but it helps to check just to be sure. The other thing is rezoning, and I think the commission, I think most of you are really familiar with your role in the rezone process. That's a legislative decision, even though it feels like a quasi-judicial one. But the council, even though it's legislative and they ultimately have to make that decision, they cannot cut you out of that process. So that's not that they'd want to, but that's something to note. You are a fundamental piece of that decision-making process. And then we get to what is the meat and potatoes of a commission, which is your quasi-judicial role. Nobody else, no other body holds and plays this role in the city of Wasilla. So it is only the commission that hears the conditional use permits, variances, all of the other permits, and the appeals of any decision issued by the planner. those are, and we have hearing officers there that, in certain contexts, but again, that's a person, not a body. So it's an incredibly important role, and a role that the commission will understand and your planner will understand better than anyone else in the city. And because you are going to be trained to the nines, and you're going to walk through these steps very carefully. And I know you do that as it stands, but we're going to work on making sure you all really understand that role. And I think that is very important, because it's very important to the people and the applicants coming before you, right? And doing that right, and being consistent and uniform, and following the constitutional due process rights that are afforded to people appearing before you, which means how we handle evidence, how we list something on the agenda, what happens with the chair's script that will, where we identify who speaks and when, and how they're represented. All of those pieces, we want to make sure they're really, really clean. I think the final, I think we've got a few more. Okay, you have a total of 11, I believe, duties and powers, if it's helpful for you to think of it that way. These are all in 2.60.22, so you can refer to them yourself. But you will prepare and investigate recommendations regarding a capital improvement program and the compliance of that program with the comp plan. This is an unusual, I'm not really sure exactly how this works, in that a capital improvement program can be interpreted as being the program as it was established, which we now have, which goes before council annually, and that process and potentially the role of the commission has been completed because the program exists. The way that I'm interpreting this, mainly to keep the commission engaged, because I think it would, if I am wrong, and that interpretation means that they want you involved in the individual CIP review process, then we would be preventing you from doing that. So my thought is that the city bring the CIP resolution to the commission for its thoughts prior to, or either prior to adoption or subject, but before it becomes effective, one way or the other, and ideally it would come to you first. Then when it goes to council, it may come with a resolution providing support for that program. But generally, those programs are outside what the commission does. But I think that given your code, we're going to have you do that to the extent the commission gets to a place where you say, we don't actually want to do this. We think this is very different than everything else that we're doing. Then that's a discussion we should have, and the administration should have with the mayor, and maybe that one can go away. But for now, the CIP will be coming to you. The other is investigate and prepare reports on the availability of public lands for city purpose. So this is a very interesting one because it's very narrow. We're going to be hearing a resolution today that I think is outside of this most likely, but barely. And so because there is a public land involved, we're going to, I think the commission can weigh in. But in the future, we really want to pay attention to what public lands are available for the city's use. So if that happens, if we have a public land and it's available for city purposes, then the commission can prepare reports and investigate. So again, this one's somewhat unusual. So when we want to do that, if a commissioner's like, I want to investigate the availability of public lands for a city purpose or a specific, then we will figure that out together on how we're going to do that. But that is not a role that we have tackled yet. I don't believe. Chair, do you remember a time when the commission tackled this particular?
No, this was part of that upgrade by the city council that was pushed by one council member. And the investigate, there's a lot of stuff, the language, it's not really something that we do and have not done in the past. I mean, we get information brought to us, especially in the quasi-judicial area. You know, we can't go out and investigate and look around. Legislative stuff, we need to rely on the due diligence of others. So it was a poor compromise when this went through council, but at least they did give us a voice in this before they passed it, and we tried to fix as many things as we could.
Okay, well, this is definitely, I mean, this is a power, so we will, so I think that's one of the things that I've talked about with the administration, is just keeping an eye on public land that's available, so that to the extent there's something to raise with the commission, so you're aware of it, we can raise that. And I think it was the deputy administrator that first sort of brought that exchange of property to the commission. And the reason why is she was, I think, grappling with this duty and wanting to make sure that she was engaging the commission. And I think when we looked at it further, we're like, well, that one doesn't really fit. So, but we're not really sure what does fit. So we'll just keep bringing information and we'll figure out how that works. We can't find the intent of that language. So that's our approach for now. Then lastly, it's at the request of the mayor council, investigating and preparing reports on public facility locations. So that I could see coming up if, let's say, they wanted to move City Hall at some point. Then you're moving a public facility and maybe want to engage with the commission, and the council or the mayor will say, I really want to get their opinion on this. You know, so I feel like those two are tied because they're really about land use by the city and that's very policy infused. And so I understand why they'd want the commission's thoughts on that, you know, but I also think it doesn't come up quite as much because that's, you know, we sort of have our established uses of our public property. But again, just keep it on your, you know, keep it in your vault, or not your vault, it doesn't have to be vaulted. But, you know, make sure you're aware of it. So these are the provisions in Title II. Again, it is council's authority to change these, expand them, or change a mandate to, for some of these, they're mandated in by statute if you have a planning commission, but they do have the ability to narrow the scope for some of them. And so they may change these on you, and if they do that at any point, that is a good time to, as a commissioner, as an individual, outside your professional capacity, to think about attending a meeting and making public comments or engaging in that way if they're not coming to you and asking for your opinion as a body. And that is okay. You know, it is okay to have those discussions, or even to talk with your constituents as well when you're outside your your official capacity, so you can talk to the council members, you know. And I think that did happen during the last set of changes, where commissioners went to the council members and said, hey, I feel like we have a voice here and an opinion and thoughts that should be heard, you know. So the other thing, so that's your duties and powers, and that is what that, I think that, Chair, I think you put it really well. That was perfect when you talk about sort of the commission's passive role. It is an important role, but it is a role in which information is brought to the commission for the most part. You know, we have those investigate and report provisions there in those specific narrow areas, but for the most part, the commission gets an agenda, and the agenda contains the items placed on it by the administration. The administration decides what goes on the agenda. Commissioners do not have the authority to tell the planner what to put on that agenda, because, again, anytime something goes on the agenda, it triggers a bunch of other things. right? It triggers legal review. It triggers taking a permit that might be slated for that agenda and putting that on another agenda. It triggers moving one of these duties that needs to occur at a specific time, like the CIP, and putting that on another, so the agenda control by code rests in the planner. So that does not mean the planner is not listening to you. A good planner is listening. And when you talk about the things that you care about or you want to see, or when you want to see it, staff is listening, but they have to organize that with resources and timing, and most importantly, the permits, because those are all subject to deadlines. They have individual applicants. They have potential appeal processes. They are paying close attention to that, and those will get priority on your agenda every time. So when those are on the agenda, that passive role comes in again. And passive is a tough word because you're a decision maker. You're deliberating on these permits that come before you. And so there's this question, like, why can't I just ask for more information? So let's walk through a quasi-judicial hearing. Although I'm going to take a breath first. Does anybody have any questions on powers and duties? Does anybody have something? Yeah.
So for clarification, so the duty to, what did it say, investigate and report, that's not something we're as commission members generating. It's more the planning department will bring that to us on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I interpret it. So what would happen is, I mean, we really have to look at each of them, even though they use the same words. They're a little different. There's two of them with that use that investigate term. So the one says investigate and prepare recommendations regarding a capital improvement program and the compliance of that program with the comp plan. So what I think they wanted you to do was come up with a capital improvement plan or investigate and prepare recommendations. So in reality, this usually would look like council or the administration comes up with a capital improvement program. It comes before the commission. The commission says, we're taking a look at this program in light of your comprehensive plan. So let's read the words: investigate and prepare recommendations regarding a capital improvement program and the compliance of that program with the comp plan. So why are we investigating and reporting as the commission? Because you are like the keepers of the comp plan, right? You make sure that comp plan is reviewed, that it goes through the process, that it's amended, and you're the keepers of the land use code, right? The development code is the commission. So anything that is reliant on those things is going to involve the commission, or they're going to wrap that power into your powers and duties. So for that one, even though we are expanding the definition until I can really figure out what this means, we are going to bring the CIP to you because I'm not sure that I don't know what role the commission had in the CIP program. And so I don't know if you approved the program the way that they present the CIP every year. I don't know. I don't think, do you guys know? I don't think so.
Chair, I think what we could start with is the city had a 5-year CIP plan, and each year they would bring an update to the commission of where they are with that program. And so what the administration is doing this time with the upcoming budget is we have collectively determined a format that's going to work for the council that they have been engaged with as well, and we'll bring that presentation, that CIP program update to you prior to the budget being passed. But I've always seen the CIP at the city as being a horizon of time, whether it's, and I'll give an example, the initiative for paving all the roads in the city was a 5-year program. It was a part of the CIP program, and every year they would do $1 million towards paving each road. And so we would update the council every year, and I think what this is stating is we need to bring that same update to the commission and get legislation that supports it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're doing this year. Ultimately, I think the commission was supposed to, and presume that the commission did, but do not know. And this is, look at the program for looking at CIPs every year, right? Like, how do we do it? How does it happen? And the way that it happens, does that comply with the comp plan? Not, well, we think you should add a couple more steps here, or it should go, just does it comply with the comp plan? You know, and so that is a question that I'm hoping to roll into the CIP plan when it comes before you. And then we will know we're compliant with both interpretations. But right now, we are acting, I want to make sure you have a voice in the CIP process, and that we also get your thoughts on the program, because then we're hedging our bets. We know we're complying. But that's one, investigate and report. Does that make sense, that role? And then that next one
I guess the clarification I was looking for, do I as a commission member need to come to a commission meeting with a list of things that I've researched and I want on the CIP? Or does the department bring that to us and they say, this is what we would like you to approve to be on the CIP that will pass on to council? Does it come from me towards the department or from the department towards me?
From the department toward you.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I don't want to be skipping out any part of what my duty should be.
No, absolutely. It was an excellent question. And no, it's regarding a capital improvement program. That's where you investigate and prepare recommendations. So under either interpretation, a capital improvement program exists, right? That thing exists before the commission's duties are triggered. And then the commission is obligated, so here are your obligations, make recommendations regarding that program and investigate and prepare recommendations. So investigate and prepare recommendations of that program. So you can't do your job until they do their job by bringing you a program.
Commissioner Brown, but investigate could be that we get that report before us and something appears to us not to be correct, we can ask the planner to go investigate that section and bring us back information to.
Absolutely.
That's investigate. We don't actually go out and do it, but we direct the planner to clarify some issues that we think may be a conflict in what we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have a program, you know, I think whether you're investigating through the planner, which is a great resource for the commission members, or you're going on Google and looking something up or checking something and stuff, that's okay too. Once you have your program, like let's say you get the program, you get the CIP, and you're like, okay, I'm really looking at this, not just for what's on it, but how it's communicated and how it's legislated, right? And you say, I want to know what they're doing elsewhere in Alaska with these CIPs, and you look it up. Totally appropriate and within the scope of this, in my opinion. You know, and when that is in front of you, so it can either be, we need to defer this to our next meeting because I'm looking for information on this, or this. But then one thing to remember is it's not just, do I like it? It's, does it comply with the comp plan? So that's all your research, all your recommendations are tied to the comp plan and its compliance with the comp plan. So, and we might just for fun, you know, we might, when that time comes when we're going through the CIP, we might all do that together. Make sure we have our comp plan with us, take those basic steps, because I do not think this is a role that the commission has played while I've been here. So I am betting that this is me being overly conservative, that the commission had this role when the CIP program was developed and the code was followed, but it was just before all of our time, and this one is no longer relevant. But we don't know that, and so I'd rather interpret your power as more expansive than less expansive. I mean, I can't hurt the city to have that additional.
Through the chair, this past year, what was presented to us from Public Works was nothing more than a list of, 7 projects. With the resolution, commission passes this. I asked for more details and was told that's none of our business.
Yeah, and I think that if you're going to ask for more details regarding what's on the CIP, that is outside the scope of the commission's duties. Because
So-
it's the program itself, it's the CIP program and how it's presented. Does that make sense? You're reviewing and making recommendations regarding regarding a capital improvement program and the compliance of that program with the comp plan. So it's the program's compliance with the comp plan, not the capital improvement itself's compliance with the comp plan.
It's the umbrella.
Yeah, it's like we created this program where when we're looking at capital improvements, it goes through step 1, 2, 3, and we look at these priorities, for example. Well, that's when you open up the comp plan and say, you need to be looking at actually those priorities plus these priorities, or whatever it is. And again, I haven't gone through this process before, so it will make some sausage. I am not, be ready, because we want to be as true to as we can to your duties and powers, but this is an unusual one. And again, we might be doing something that, there's a commission somewhere, long years ago that was like, oh, we went through this process and they don't even remember, but I will ask Jamie to look and make sure that we don't have something like a resolution. But that is one of the problems, I think, is the commission issues, your instrument is resolutions, right? You don't make law, so you don't issue ordinances. You're all resolutions. But resolutions are a very temporary instrument. So the reason why I use resolutions, you make your decision, the permit has legs. It lives on with the property, runs with the land, right? So when you do your quasi-judicial resolutions, those decisions are embodied and embedded and memorialized in your permits. So when we have things like this, in my opinion, this is the one time where you kind of leave your commissions high and dry, because we're trying to figure out what's been done in the past. We don't have a great record of that. And we look to the resolutions, but we don't have a code. We don't have, so we do the best we can, and then err on the side of more power, not less. So the next one, though, I don't even know that I can answer your question. Because the next one is investigate and prepare reports on the availability of public land, which to me, this smacks of a duty that was intended upon the creation and establishment of the commission when we're looking at public lands and what we're going to do with them at the beginning, And so now I see it as one way we have talked about doing this, just to keep it clean, is we will look at the list of available public lands, and we will plan a meeting where we bring those lands to you and tell you what's available, and that will trigger your ability to investigate and prepare reports on the use of those properties. That may prove we'll see what that looks like. Right now, I don't think there are no public lands that are triggering for the administration. I don't think we're
Question.
there.
Commissioner Brown, wouldn't the one with the airport, the museum, and the movement fall into that category?
Well,
Because the airport want the land the museum have now, and the museum want to move to other public land.
Well, we are going to say yes. That's what we're going to say, because it's on your agenda, and that is but it's hard because it's the availability.
You can't tell me how to vote yet.
Yes, to be clear, who knows what we're going to say, but we're definitely going to give you an opportunity to say it. So, this one, I'm like, so it's the availability of public lands for city purposes. So, we know the airport's available for city purposes. The other land isn't our land, so we're not talking about that land. That land doesn't fit. So we're talking about an exchange, so technically we should only be talking about one piece of land, city land, and then for public purposes, but we're about to exchange it for,
Yes.
so.
Yes.
So do you see, it's like, I think we maybe pushed the scope of our authority as a commission a little far, but Again, I
say
think,
yes, no.
yeah, right, so we will see,
But that is,
but that's, I mean.
but that is looking at availability, because you know you have public land over here.
Yeah.
Somebody wants that, and the city wants what they have. So I think this is a perfect example where we need to be involved in the process.
Okay, I think if it was a public, I think it's because it's an exchange, it's like the city purposes on one piece of land and the public land is on the other, and it's the exchange. We're not talking about public land for public purpose, because we're talking about exchanging public land for a non-public purpose, or a non-city purpose, right, which is how we define that. So, but it's close, we're getting really close, so I think we're gonna figure that
So
out.
I
but-
think, Holly, because the comp plan lives within the commission, what makes this relevant is they could say, commission could say, as part of the comp plan, we would like an inventory of what the city does own. And,
Ooh,
and
yes,
how
this is
big is
good.
that property, because that's something finance would have. And within the next few meetings, if you could give us a report. If we don't have it, then we're gonna need to commission it as part of our comp plan. Because realistically, how do you make educated decisions if you don't have a complete picture? And I think the way that it fits into the CIP program is if the CIP program comes forward and it says, we are going to annex all of Seward Meridian, you would say, wait a minute, that's not part of the yeah, that was never approved by us, because it's all this land use stuff and annexing and rezonings, all of that is part of that comp plan. So the comp plan we purchased doesn't go into that granular conversation, but it could, if that's important to you guys. Is we know land has a shortage, we know the city owns land, we own a lot here and a lot there, and John's brother's building over there, but do we, or do we not own it? I think that would be a good declaration from the commission as to part of the comp plan, we want to verify it's going to be in it, and if not, we need to commission that.
But not make any decisions regarding what, so that's the thing, when you investigate and prepare reports regarding on the availability of public lands for city purposes, notice that recommendations is not part of that. It's just investigate and prepare reports on the availability of public lands for city purposes. What I think this was is many communities have what's called a land allocation plan. And those land allocation plans are created annually. And that means that when the council or assembly creates their land allocation plan, what they're doing is they're identifying lands available for sale or lease or for other purposes, and they lay it all out in that plan. And they identify it, so you could like pull up a map and be like, ooh, I could buy this property over here, you know, and so they have their land allocation plan. And then I think one of the roles of the commission in that plan, the commissions are wrapped in to the land allocation plan, whether the allocation plan goes to the commission after the, usually it's a work session, right, where council kind of weighs in, or it's done the other way around. Regardless, I think that this is sort of one of the duties that is provided in the statute for that purpose, and that's how it got there. But I really like Crystal's the comp plan piece
Inventory.
and thinking it through in that way. It makes sense to me. Feels more comfortable than, but I just feel like I'm not giving you much of an answer on that one because I don't have one.
Back to the museum though.
Yep.
My concept is, we see this is about to happen. We can't make it not happen, but we can make a recommendation that according to the comp plan, this land was designated for something else and better used for something else than the museum. The council had the right to throw that in the trash can and make a decision. But I think we as a commission have a obligation and a responsibility to make a recommendation and point out that this is in conflict with the comp plan and with previous discussed plans before that deal goes through.
I don't think so. Because then you're talking about contracts and the administration's contracts for the sale, disposal, lease of a land interest that it holds. And the commission doesn't have a role in that except for capital improvement projects, and except for investigations and prepare reports on the availability of public lands for city purposes. So I don't think so, which is, don't get me wrong, that's painful because it's like, but you can do this, but you can't do that, and it's like these very finite lines, but I don't think they want the commission jumping in, weighing in on city contracts.
But you want me to review the comp plan?
Yes, and
And
so I think.
And I see you are violating the comp plan.
Yes, but once you give the comp plan, once you decide what the rules are, then it's their obligation to follow those rules unless it's challenged. I mean, at that point, comp plan is law, right? I mean, it's advisory law. I mean, but you can't violate the comp plan, right? So if you're in a contract, that's got to go through the approval process laid out in the code, and it will be subject to council approval, as you know, above a certain amount. Or the administration can make that decision below a certain amount. But the commission's role is land use, it's not land dealings by the city. That's, for the most part. So that's, now if the commission wants to get involved in the contracts and the land sales, exchanges, leases of the city, that's certainly something you could propose to the council.
I don't think we should.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is getting involved in the contract. It is just pointing out that you have a comp plan and what you're doing.
Well, I think what you will find is if it is in violation of the comp plan, the use of that property will probably land in front of you via a permit violation very quickly, right? Because you'll be called upon to answer, this is a use, are they using it in violation of the plan? Or a neighbor will challenge a permit or appeal a permit given because it's in violation of the comp plan. So it all comes around. In fact, when we think about it, everything leads straight back to the commission eventually.
Just relax.
Just be passive.
If you just be
and it'll
calm
come back
about it,
to
it'll
you.
come around. Just like I said, didn't we answer that question? I mean, yeah.
I do have a question through the chair to Crystal. We're going back to the comp plan, and that's always what I've said. The comp plan is 20 years out of date? Is the new comp plan being planned and developed that it's clear on these things? What are the CIPs that's part of this comp plan? Is that going to be inclusive? The other properties that the city has, is that going to be in the comp plan that's presented to us?
So the comp plan that we're working on does not go into land inventory. So that would be a change order if we wanted to do a inventory of all the land that the city owned.
But we could get that from finance.
We should, yeah, so that's something we can just request from finance and then bring that report to you. And if you see something that just doesn't look right, then we can do further investigations, but I think, you need to have the full picture. And as far as the CIP program, I will confirm with them that is part of the comp plan. So, I don't have the index that they gave us when they did their initial, but I was also talking with the mayor today about an update to the commission in mid-January from the contractor. Keep you guys updated on the project.
So,
I did get some good feedback, though. They said of all the comp plans that they've worked on post-COVID, we have the highest engagement of people that do their homework, show up with great questions, they're very engaged. And so that's good news for us.
And so that's one of those projects too. I know that the planner was talking about creating a calendar with the planning clerk, where we're laying out some of these bigger projects such as reports on the availability of public lands, as Crystal said, getting those on the agenda where they fit, right? So if you're in the middle of a comp plan and that's coming on your agenda, we don't want to load it with all of the things. And then also we have a brand new, although very experienced and wonderful planner, which means you just adopted, about 2.5 months ago, right? A incredibly new and different Title 16. And there are questions coming in from the public. There are permit processes that have to, and templates and handouts and systems and databases, and even getting this, it hasn't even been codified by the publishing company, I don't believe yet. So getting that plastered all over your website so that people can, these are your top priorities. You have a law that people have to understand. And so for right now, making sure that people understand that law, that the planner has mastery of that law, that has been the administration's main goal, and getting the commission, you know, through the agenda, through training, ready and braced for what is to come, because it is going to come. You know, you have a lot this year, and you know this because you had a lot last year and the year before. I mean, the Title 16 work was hefty. So I would just say that there might be these feelings of frustration because you can engage and make recommendations to your administration about what you want to see on the agenda, but they are going to control that agenda because that is what is expected of them under the code. And that is how a commission operates because of the weight and gravity of the due process role, the quasi-judicial role you hold. So unlike the council that doesn't have that role, you know, there is nothing that goes on that agenda that has to take precedent, or it almost by default will cause a due process violation, right? But that happens for the commission if we don't make the decisions when we're supposed to make them and give them the attention they're supposed to have. So
Through the chair to the planner, and I think this would probably solve a lot of the questions several of us commissioners have had. We've requested information, we've requested things, and then we never hear back. What is the status? And I think that would be so helpful if the planner came and said, I've got your request, we're looking at it, we're moving on it, not just this poof, and it's gone.
well, and I think what happens is, so a request from a commissioner comes into the planning department, right? And so the planning department looks at it, and a lot of times what I have spent, I will be honest, I have spent way more time and money than the city should be spending on the attorney to look at whether or not these requests coming in from commissioners are fitting within the scope of authority of the commission. You know, like, oh, we've never received a request for that type of information. Let me look and see if we can provide it and how we provide it. And that creates, then I have to go look at cases and see, well, what can we do? And what is commission's role here? And well, can the commission propose or sponsor this resolution? Can they, you know, and those questions, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing the training, is it's just costly. I mean, there was one day, I believe, you know, Julie and I were on the phone for 3 hours going through things and looking at them and drafting responses and working on those things. That is, you have a highly dedicated staff who values all of you so much. It is not an easy job. It is a volunteer position. It has immense importance to the city. So it is very valued, and they want to deliver. You know, they want to give you, but we have to be careful because we're creating precedent. We also want to comply with the law. And so, for example, if the staff had put the bylaws in front of the commission and given you a chance to weigh in and create bylaws, that would have been a direct and express violation of Title II. Because those are done at the direction of the mayor by the city clerk and attorney. And so, and that was done, that decision was made by city council expressly and deliberately, mainly because the bylaws that had developed over time by the commission were not, arguably, were not lawful. And I'm going to say that those bylaws were more than 3 years ago, so there could not possibly be any lawsuits that would stem from my words right now. So, you know, because we, and so those types of things, but I have to go look at the legislative history, and I'm like, you know, I have that, I don't think that we can do it that way. And so we go build it. And then I believe that the staff generally provides, because they send them to me, very substantive responses. You know, I've seen those responses. They address each issue. So I'm not sure, and maybe there are responses you're not providing me, but I see very specific responses coming back from the staff. And so I think this is the thing, commissioners should reach out to their chair if they have a question or they want something, other than reaching out to Julia for, hey, did we reschedule that meeting? You know, or are we having a training on X day? Or letting her know where you're going to be, that type of thing. If there's substantive questions, reach out to the chair. So the staff is one point person that is communicating those issues to staff, and staff can kind of organize how they're gonna respond, you know? And that is because, now that is not the same as council. Remember, that is a very different relationship, right? Like with council, you know, they send emails, and it is the same in one sense. I very rarely, you know, as Commissioner Brown can attest, I very rarely engaged in emails with a council member unless we had an assignment, like we were working on a specific ordinance where we had like a work, I think, did we have a task? What did we had like a, so there,
Task force.
yeah, so it was like a small task force, say, on ethics, and the council drafted a resolution or passed a resolution approving time and appropriating, in essence, time and identifying a council member, the clerk, the attorney to work on the project. Otherwise, unless it's a code of ethics, which that's also available to the commission, if it's an advisory opinion, like, can I do this? You know, will I be violating the law if I do X? Then you have the ability to get an advisory opinion from the attorney that protects you. So if I say, yes, you can, and then someone brings a complaint against you, then you can say, no, I checked. I have this piece of paper, and there will be no complaint. It's automatically dismissed. But other than those processes, you know, so I guess what I reached the clerk, the council members go to the clerk, and the clerk shoots emails left and right to the attorney. And the great thing is, in that case, when it's coming to the attorney, the clerk also holds me accountable. Like, hey, I haven't gotten a response to X email, you know, so it's great to have a point person too, to say, hey, Commissioner Langill asked some questions about, you know, CIPs, and we haven't heard from you guys in a month on it, you know, so it creates that point of contact. So I think that's how we best deal with that. But I mean, does that?
Yeah, and I would just add, when an email comes to planning for information or ideas that you have, just say what your intent is. You know, my intent is to better understand why the bylaws haven't been rewritten, or something that is inviting for us to say, you know, that is an excellent question. But I know as an acting planner, before we got our planner, I would not respond back to a request until I knew it was lawful. Because if I would have immediately said, you know what, I'll go ahead and pull those and we'll start working on them right now, that would be unlawful for me to disingenuously tell you that. So I could say, if I pulled all the emails now, we've responded to every request with the exception of the emails. We talked about having city emails for all the commissioners, and that is still within Holly's review. She's not given the green light on that. So one of the things we do need to be more effective is let you know that it's still in the queue. And maybe that's just a simple report of things we're working on with Holly that we haven't, because.
No, but I mean, only if they're
Yeah.
going through the chair.
Correct.
You know, like, but yes, I mean, we can give
Yeah.
you a review, but I think that we have to get control over the requests and what's going on and what time is going into them. So that request is still with me because it is a citywide decision. It is a council decision, ultimately, whether or not you have your own email addresses. Why is it a council decision or an administration decision, really? And that's because there's costs. You know, we have to call IT, there's costs associated with it, there's costs associated with the public records request that then we're looking at those emails. And I realize that it's something the commission wants to create clarity and keep that separation. So we've raised that with the city clerk, and I would say that ultimately that's a decision that will be made by the mayor and the city clerk, because the city clerk is the custodian of city records. So that's a role that she has by statute. And so your email addresses and the records that will create is really within her purview. So that's something I know she's thinking about it, you know, but, and so that decision will be made there. But I think what we can't have, and so as Crystal's being very gracious and saying, well, we'll get this, I really would like to strongly say, my advice is that the chairperson is the person that corresponds with the administration, period, you know? And that if you have questions regarding, except for questions regarding, you know, what's going on, like where are we meeting, when is this, I can't be there, I'm gonna miss this, can I get this old packet that I can't find it, or things like that, absolutely go through the planning clerk. And that's a very common classic structure for a commission. So the next part of communications, but wait, I'm gonna pause and you guys can let me have it. How do you guys feel about that? Do you feel
That's
frustrated
fine,
by
I
that?
love it. And to me, that would be a policy and procedure. Any actions or information the commissioner wants, we take it to the chair.
He should be the only one with an email, just him.
Yeah, that works for me. Just let him have the email.
Yeah, there we go. There, ooh, I'll bring that one to the clerk and say, well, how about this? Yeah, this will.
So that's costly
We're
for one
coming up for
email.
re-election here.
And when you say, so just so you know, when you say something like that should be a policy and procedure, I absolutely hear that, you know, and it's one of the things, like the mayor at some point might say, boy, we still have some confusion on the commission or how things are operating. We need something that, you know, that they can follow. At that point, and I know that is something several of you have expressed, like, that would be kind of nice, you know? And so I am not saying that's not going to happen. I think that is going to happen to some extent. The question for us is, how formal do we create something like that? We don't want to create a law. We want you to have flexibility, you know? So while we want you to contact the chair, we don't want there to be a violation of code or law when you don't. We trust that we can establish these practices and they will be followed. And if they're not followed, then maybe that's when we're like, well, we definitely got to get that one in writing. But we don't want to create consequences for our volunteers, especially volunteers that pour tens of hours, maybe hundreds of hours when we get into things like Title 16 and the comp plan. You know, our goal is not to create violations on your behalf. So that's one of the reasons why we really consider, you know, when and how we do bylaws. That said, we are also open and we consider changing Title II, right? So some of these policies and procedures, if they're important enough, they are things that can become laws. But I would not want that one to become a law because, again, I don't want any laws that are going to get, you know, inadvertently get a new commissioner in trouble. Because you guys will be all trained up, but then somebody else will come onto the commission and they will have to learn all of the things. So, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, and this will be the last one we tackle today, is quasi-judicial proceedings and how that looks when you're not getting a complete picture, right? So you have a permit in front of you. The application seems very sparse, extremely disappointing. Doesn't seem to have the information. You know there's more there, right? There's got to be something. Where's all the statements from the neighbors? Where are these other pieces? The applicant bears the burden. You are a judge. So think of it this way. If you're a judge and someone says this person committed a crime, and you open up the case and you say, there's no evidence the person was there. There's no motive. I don't know what's going on. Do you get to say, I'm going to give you more time. Please go get me all of the information so I can find this person guilty? Or, nope, there's just, you know, right? So they bear the burden. So when they fill out an application and they come to you to review their permit, you have the application you have. And you weigh the standard of review. Does this meet X criteria? You walk through the criteria. And if it does not meet those criteria, then they do not get a permit, right? And if they don't meet, if there's not substantial evidence to find one of those criteria, or it's not more probable than not, that's another standard you guys have, it depends on what it says, then they haven't met their burden. And it's, sometimes that's you didn't meet your burden here, you can reapply in whatever it is, right? But if you do, we expect to see these things. You know, cannot approve a permit that doesn't have these things. And the same thing with an appeal, only on the other flip side. Someone says, we don't like this thing, and you shouldn't have, and the planner shouldn't have issued the permit. The question is, whatever the standard is, because we have some different standards, but was there substantial evidence? Was that made in error? Was there substantial evidence supporting that criteria had been met? You know, and if it's there, then it's there. And if it's, you know, and really, I think the error standard, you apply the error standard, you will have an attorney here, but the question will be, did they meet that? Was there an error? There's deference that goes to the planner, but weighing what the provisions are that are specific to that particular procedure. And so that is going to lead to some discomfort, because many applicants will not necessarily give you what you need to get to the decision and feel like you really fully have everything you need for that decision. That said, you're going to remember this conversation. I know you are. And then a rezone is going to come in front of you. And you're going to try to apply it. And the rezone's different because it's legislative. And the interest you're considering is the public's interest, right? The interest of the public. And you still go through the criteria, but that's a much more free-flowing. So you're still looking at findings, but you're not acting as a judge. You're looking at the best interest of the community. So we'll walk through that. To the extent you need information on a legislative front, comp plan, rezone's a weird one, but comp plan, CIP, program, consideration, any of those things, then there may be a need for greater information. But we don't have that discussion before the meeting, because all of our meetings with the staff on what we need to process information happen at the meeting in public where everybody can hear it. And I know it's awkward because you feel like you're kind of chastising the planning department. You put them in this position where you're like, well, I could do my job tonight, but you didn't give me what I needed. And you don't want to do that. But I think everybody should feel like that's just part of the process. You know, so don't feel like you're criticizing them. They are ready and willing to hear what additional information you may need for that matter, and they will tell you whether or not they can provide that. And, you know, but those are legislative matters only. Does that make sense, those differences? And we'll practice. We're going to practice on all of those things, and I'll be very direct with you all. You know, I will, and so we will get through this. But that's what tonight was about. Those are roles, responsibilities, powers, duties, limitations. Does anybody have any questions on this sort of segment of the training?
Could you just spend another minute talking about ex parte and about outside communications before you come? You get the agenda several days ahead of time. And other boards I'm on, sometimes people come and it's obvious they have had contact with people and discussed this. And so they're bringing information to the board that the rest of us have not had access to until the 11th hour.
No, that is such an important point, because when you're using when you have your quasi judicial hat on, so we should use both hats, right? Legislatively, comp plan, everybody can talk to you. You just can't talk to each other, right? Under the Open Meetings Act, and we'll talk about the Open Meetings Act next time. But they can talk to you. They can tell you what they think. They can do all of those things. It's okay. Now, you're not an elected official, so you don't have to engage in those discussions because you are appointed to do a very specific job. But there's no law. There's no violation of law, right? But when you are hearing a permit or an appeal, Ex parte communications are a violation of your code of ethics. Ex parte communications can be a violation of the constitutional due process rights of the individual. It's a very dangerous. And so this is why, it's one of the reasons why the commission had wanted a list of violations, right? People who were properties that were in violation of the code. And that's something you've gotten for a long time, I think, that sort of list. Yeah. And so I don't like the list because I'm like, your job is to deal there. So you could have an enforcement proceeding and guess where that appeal goes, right? And I don't know on that list, are those alleged violations, have they passed their appeal point? Are any of them going to appeal? Has it been vetted other than we see a violation, now we have a citation, is it in court? I don't know where it is in the process, so we're calling people out as having these violations. I have no idea where they are in the process, but most importantly, what I care most about is I don't know what your role is yet to be. And so if you get that list and you say, yep, that guy's got 3 pieces of property and he just cannot get out of his own way, you know, and then he's in front of you the next day or the next week, how do you think he feels about your fairness, you know, and his chance of getting a fair consideration? I think he feels lousy. I think that hurts the appearance of, it creates the appearance of impropriety, which increases the risk of litigation. And I don't see, unless we have a real reason to take on that risk, I don't advise my clients to do it. And so that has been one where I'm like, but that said, we are holding on that because I do think public, you know, people being aware of violations sometimes is enough to make a person say, oh, I'm going to clean that up, right? So I'm not saying I don't see the other side. I want to see how Title 16 is working and where we land on enforcement. We're looking at bringing some nuisance and potentially blighted property, that type of ordinance before council to get a stricter enforcement, to take the nuisance enforcement arm and place it in the in Title 16 more firmly, and basically allow for the abatement of those violations in a more efficient way. So once we do that, then we will look at that list and see if we can expand it. But right now, a list of names is all I'm willing to allow, and even that I've kind of asked them to just pause until we get. So that just gives you an example, though. Your role, ex parte communications, and your quasi-judicial role, the appearance of impropriety, all of that is very important. And so all of the decisions we make often have something to do with that. So that answer. So that's ex parte communication. Don't talk to people involved in the case, not the applicant, and here's the key, not the planner. You know, so the planner, once you have a quasi-judicial case, you do not engage with the planner where they get to provide additional information or explain anything to you. Then this is usually on an appeal, they're the party. Because imagine you walk in the room and the planner and a commissioner are sitting there and the commissioner says, did you give me all that additional information I wanted about, that person feels like, why did I come? You know, like clearly the city is about the city and I have no chance in this process. So we want to avoid ex parte communications. And that's especially true because the planner is your liaison. So the planner is going to be balancing this role that is legal. The courts have found this to be lawful, but the planner will be, you know, a lot of times the planner will present a resolution with findings, either finding that a permit should or should not be granted, say for a conditional use permit, right? At that point, the planner then is advocating for a position, often, sometimes not, but often. The commission may or may not go the way of the planner. But then the commission may have a question on process, or what do I do with this motion for this? And they're going to turn to the planner for direction. And so long as that's all in public, that's a discomfort that the courts are comfortable with, because what are you going to do? The cost of hiring someone and creating ultimate separation in these administrative realms that's unrealistic for a lot of small cities or any cities. And we do it all the time. Think about it. The state pays the prosecutor, pays the public defender, and the state pays the judge, right? So we're no different in that sense, but we do have to respect that appearance of impropriety, avoid it at all costs. Does that cover the ex parte?
See,
Okay. 7:30 is not bad. An hour and a half. I feel like that's what I'm aiming for each of these segments. Commissioner Deyoung is looking at me like,
it's nap time.
yeah. All right. Well, no other questions? All right.
Would everybody like to take a 10-minute recess? We're under recess at 7:31.
Get another piece of pizza. Thank you for that part. Are you on the city council? We're not letting that happen. No, that we haven't.
You don't have a decision.
It's not my decision, but, hey buddy, I need
It's
you
out of
here
your
next
purview.
month.
I think that's, there you go, crossing out of your lane again.
My husband calls me the habitual line stepper.
The habitual line stepper, balance beam.
Yeah, he's a very much a rule follower. Black and white.
He's the balance beam.
Yeah.
You're the aerialist.
Has to be.
Tightrope
walker right now. The AML, one of the best parts about AML is that you get to actually have conversations with the council members from other cities and stuff. The other day I got to have breakfast with Stu Gray. He just gets on these tirades every now and then. You know, 8 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning or whatever.
I'm fairly.
Okay, so I just have to know. So
For that.
we were sitting like weak mayor and strong mayor form of government. And the gal says, now, these are not legal terms. Weak mayor,
Right,
strong
we just
mayor.
use them
We just use them interchangeably. And he's always had a real riff with that. And I don't want us to have it. Anyway, I looked at him and I said,
But strong mayor is it's not a legal term, but it's a real thing.
yeah, it
This
is.
is how we were, but
So
he
they
wants
had
us
a
to-
panel with the borough and another, like Sick or whoever their strong mayor. And so there's 4 forms of government that were represented.
Oh, that's so fun. I wish
Yeah.
I could go to
It was
that.
really fun. And so we were talking, I'm like, which one do you like? And he goes, that one. I go, well, that's not what you say at the council. He goes, well, yeah, that's what I said. I said, no, you don't.
So what does he likes the
City manager.
city manager form of government?
Yeah. Which, you know, I mean, I call them they're kind of like, if there's a Greek system, they're definitely frats and sororities.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They've created their own worth and
They're
own
Greek
value,
town.
you know, and they can manage process and personnel, that's what they get paid to do. But it's a lot harder to get stuff done, I think.
You just throw a kicker.
Yeah, right, right. And they can be, but like in this term, the mayor wants
Really good.
my focus to be on economic development.
I'm done.
No.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah, I'm done. So
Stand
how
there.
is it go really
I'll
fast?
take
Because I'm like,
I've
I've been up for 4 days with property
Sounds good to me.
management. I'm like, I could tell, I was like, that's only because early this week. And And then I hear the winds are coming back, and I'm just like, I
No,
can't.
I can't believe you said that.
No, they are. They're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be as bad, except for Friday. We don't know what's gonna happen Tuesday. I'm just like, I can't do this for another 3 days. I can't.
We're in the eye of the storm. Okay?
Yeah, we're in the eye right now.
There's the beginning part and the end part.
I was, today I said to Jennifer, I said, okay, before you came, we had Wizard of Oz. Yeah. And now we have strong winds. What else is there about Kansas? What did you bring?
It's very flat. There's a lot of corn.
Well, we're not gonna have corn anytime soon. We might have a lot of hurricane winds. Yeah.
But I will say, it's not as boring as the Dakotas.
I always ask,
I love the Dakota.
assembly do this
South Dakota?
every time we get a windstorm.
It's not as flat as Kansas.
No,
It was,
but-
such a classic. Today EDA was up there and they asked all the cities to do what.
You good?
He.
And then EDA said, that's the best $40,000 that you guys have ever spent on Wasilla. The other government, my people over in Akron, I said, thank you, Nolan. She's like, what's your number one reason for success? I said, because we get people that
Pizza
drive
place,
millions of dollars
fire.
to the miles north of And it's just whenever you have a meeting, Nolan. He goes,
Need to throw some more ingredients on it.
it's the truth, you guys meet and the money comes out.
You know what I mean?
Like the best advertising we can have. They said, how'd you
That's
guys
funny.
get your housing conversation? I said, we just said we'd find a way to hook them up to the sewer and the water, and then they did the rest. Right? Yeah, no, that's,
Make it as easy as possible.
yeah,
Come and drop your house in.
I like you.
Okay.
Are they kind of modular?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look really fun.
Careful where your house lands. You may not have the right permit for it.
Yeah. Dorothy, no.
I'm supposed to have a duplex here. This is my house.
I'm missing Gunsmoke
In fact, Capital Inn, Juneau,
because of
that
you.
is a Sears catalog.
Is it really?
house.
Sorry, we're going fast. Hour and a half, that's like 10 minutes in attorney time.
Oh.
Definitely.
I was gonna say something, but
I know, I better cut you out.
Last night that they wanted with the horse, so you can go 3 miles in and
Oh,
get
she
off
clerked.
the train. And hauled it with the horse.
Yeah.
Got a couple minutes.
Are you gonna have to?
Oh, yeah.
We
We will.
Okay,
That's why I came here.
thank you.
I do not believe in abandoning
Maui last week, county just passed legislation to phase out 7,000 short-term rentals on the island.
where was it at?
In Maui,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, they're gonna get rid of 7,000 short-term rentals.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Good luck.
Friends have been doing exchange. And it's not like the movies where you actually exchange the house, you get like credits.
Yeah.
Has anybody done that?
No, I've heard of that.
It's supposed to be amazing, and you just, I think you maybe have to put your house on for like 1 day or something, like just enough. And then you're in, and they've been staying all over the world for free.
Oh,
And you just cash in points and you can buy points. So, but they, you stay in places short-term rentals are not allowed, so in Hawaii.
because it's not a rental, it's an exchange.
Yes.
Interesting.
They can't have.
What's interesting?
instead of a short-term rental.
National League.
Home exchanges.
home exchange.
Oh, yeah.
So you offer your home up for a week,
And Alaska.
and then
Do a little house switch.
Permit in a
I
while.
love that.
I was on vacation.
Means more people.
You just killed it for me.
Like, don't touch my stuff.
I know, I was like, gotta pack everything.
yeah.
Literally.
I'm good.
Just let me know when I need to start unmuting.
Well, we're at 1 minute from 10.
Okay.
They all should have considered
A minute.
Victor professions.
Everybody getting ready to go?
Yeah,
Freddie, Freddie.
We're getting ready here.
That means pipe down.
I went more for the pay attention part.
Pipe down. I'm gonna take my little card and have fun.
The December 9th, 2025.
Your mic's not on.
December 25th. December 9th, 2025.
Merry Christmas.
Planning Commission meeting is back in session. Time is 7:41. Jeez.
I don't even know where
Next on the agenda is public participation.
Okay.
We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the Planning Commission. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the commission or administration. Anyone wishing to step forward may do so at this time. With no one wishing to speak, the next item of business is the consent agenda. Would the planning clerk please read the items for approval under the consent agenda into the record?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Under the consent agenda, we have the regular meeting minutes for the November 18th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Commissioner Stafford, I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second. Commissioner Brown, second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Next on the agenda is new business. With no new items under the public hearing, we move on to resolutions recommended for approval. Will the planning clerk please read the agenda item under resolutions recommended for approval?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. First item we have is resolution serial number 25-13, a resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission for reconsideration of policy for paper notification of Planning Commission meetings.
Thank you. Will the planning department please provide a report?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to recommend we table this resolution. This is a good example of us getting the cart before the horse. Yeah, cart before the horse, not the horse before the cart. I had to make sure I had that right. I'd like the attorney to give an explanation on that.
So one of the things that, when we talk about due process and notification, how we provide notification is governed in part by the code and by statute. They use the term newspaper of general circulation. We've expanded in Wasilla the definitions and what that can constitute. But when we apply that in the legislative realm versus when you're dealing with your due process requirements, there's different requirements. So this one's going to require some work. And it's important work because we want to make it as efficient as possible for the administration. But when we are done with that work and also have coordinated that with council, that will actually be one that comes from, it will go to council, sponsored by the mayor, to make that change. And we will make sure we're providing you updates regarding that change. Then that may also, that change will be, to the extent that change is in Title II. That change will most likely have a parallel Title 16 change, and that will be coming to the commission before it's adopted. So, more to come on that one in ordinance form.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to table Resolution 25-13?
Commissioner Brown moved that we table resolution 25.
I'm sorry, could you make it a motion to postpone? Just, table is just a motion to postpone. We don't table things, we postpone them as, I think that will make our parliamentarian very happy. That's not,
That's
you know.
good. Because table means next meeting.
Yeah, and table, when you put something on the table, there's a bunch of
Yeah.
context
I was
under
using your
Robert's
words.
rules. Sorry, I know, no, not my
Commissioner
words.
Deyoung, second.
No.
I move that we postpone resolution 25-13.
Second. Commissioner Deyoung, second.
Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call a roll call vote, please? For a
Thank you.
resolution to postpone resolution serial number 25-13, a resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission for a reconsideration of policy for paper notification of planning commission meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Deyoung?
Yes.
Commissioner Langill?
Yes.
By unanimous vote, the motion to postpone resolution serial number 25-13 is approved.
Thank you. Will the planning clerk read the next agenda item under resolutions recommended for approval?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. The next item that we have is resolution serial number 25-14, a resolution in support of the availability of public land for the use of the Wasilla Airport and Museum of Alaska Transportation.
Will the planning department please provide a report?
Thank you, Chair. This is a resolution that has been worked on for the past few meetings, and we've had the director of that museum give a nice presentation. So this is really a resolution in support of this conversation that happened.
Thank you. Now, may I have a motion to approve resolution number 25-14?
Commissioner Stafford, sorry. Commissioner Stafford, I move that we approve resolution serial number 25-14.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Brown, second.
I just couldn't wait anymore.
Sure.
Is there any discussion by the commission? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve resolution serial number 25-14, a resolution in support of the availability of public land for the use of Wasilla Airport and Museum of Alaska Transportation?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Deyoung?
Yes.
Commissioner Langill?
Yes.
By unanimous vote, the resolution serial number 25-14 is approved.
Will the planning clerk please read the last agenda item under resolutions recommended for approval?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. The last item that we have is resolution serial number 25-15, a resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving an updated agenda format.
Will the planning department please provide a report?
Thank you, Chair. This is a resolution codifying the agenda format going forward for the Planning Commission.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
Chair,
First.
Oh.
sorry, I would recommend one amendment to the resolution. Just on, when I'm looking at it again, I think that I would recommend amending it to remove 8.3 entitled Introductions. The commission doesn't adopt ordinances, therefore it doesn't have introductions and public hearings separate on a legislative matter. It just looks at everything through a resolution, which is you can make a decision the same day. So we just don't need that introduction heading.
Which one are you moving?
So on page 2 of 27, 8.3. It's just one line, 8.3 introductions, just get that out of there. And I also just want to note that the attachment is a example, but provides all the headings, but it's an example of the agenda format proposed, which is in the resolution.
What page is that specifically for everyone?
Well, maybe are people?
Page 13.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Maybe I'm in a different.
I thought you said 2 and I'm like, I'm so confused.
The example agenda does not have 8.3 on it, on page 13 of 27.
Am I in a different?
Different uniform.
Okay, it is. Oh, we removed it. Never mind. I apologize. I'm not really sure. Yeah, we should really. I'm in this one, and it's there. Okay, well, as long as it's not on yours, that's what matters.
So we are approving 13 and 14.
I don't know.
No, so, planning clerk through the chair, the page 13, the one that has the watermark, attachment A, that is the example that we are using for the format for this brand-new resolution 25-15. It does not include anything about, it does not include a, agenda item for introductions, that is not in there. And it does clearly say also in the footer that it is a RS 25-15 attachment A of the original RS 2511 attachment A.
Maybe she's looking
Oh.
at that.
I apologize. I looked at our own agenda and panicked, and now we forgot to take that out.
Yes, it does say that on our current agenda, and if this resolution is passed, we will never have that again.
Yes, I just exemplified my, I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Thank you very much.
Okay, just so I'm on the same page.
I just read I literally turned the page,
And there it
got,
was.
and somehow got back to our agenda and was like, oh my goodness, I didn't take that out, so. The resolution and the attachment are in no need of amendment.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a resolution that we adopt resolution serial number 2515, a resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving updating Planning Commission agenda format.
Commissioner Brown, second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Stafford and seconded by Commissioner Brown to approve Resolution 2515. Is there any discussion by the commission?
The only comment I'd like to make is that the new layout with legislative and quasi judicial clearly labeled helps me to understand
I like that.
the role that we're playing at that moment. It clarifies to me what we're doing and what rules apply to us, since those two situations have different sets of rules.
Any other discussion by the commission?
That's why they should stay in the drawer.
Should keep it with you always.
Pardon?
Will
Oh, I have a question. I have a question.
go ahead.
Sorry. Planning clerk through the chair. Just while we're approving a new format, I would love to clarify that whenever we have a training or a special guest report, where is it still the most appropriate spot to put those reports or trainings under staff reports, or is there a more appropriate spot that I should be putting those in the agenda?
I mean, I think it'll just depend, and we can just work through that.
Okay.
I mean, but it doesn't, so long as you're not putting them under an action item, you can even put them under public participation. And, you know, I mean, that's fine too. You would just drop it into, I think, so you have a format, but if you have a presentation, it is okay to add, say, a 6.2 to say presentation by so-and-so. On that, that's okay, you can do that. What you don't wanna do is change the order or the topics in your agenda. So to the extent you have one that you're adding under one, and you wanna make sure that it's identified, that's a level of flexibility that you should very much enjoy. So,
Okay.
okay?
Any further discussion? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve resolution serial number 25-15, a resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving updated agenda format.
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Deyoung,
Yes.
Commissioner Langill.
Yes.
By unanimous vote, the resolution serial number 25-15 a resolution of the Wasilla Planning Commission approving the updated agenda format is approved.
I said yes too.
Oh,
Yeah, you We're like,
seals. Okay,
we're all tired, see?
you win? Do you approve?
We're good.
Okay. All right.
Unanimous vote.
By unanimous vote, RS 25-15 is approved.
We move on to unfinished business. With no unfinished business, we move on to communications. We are now at communications. Would the planning clerk please read the items for approval under the communications into the record?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Seals. We have permits and licenses issued November 12th through December 2nd, 2025. Code violations from November 12th through December 2nd, 2025. And then the Matsuboro Planning Commission agendas from November 17th, 2025, December 1st, 2025, and December 15th, 2025.
Thank you. We now move to audience comments. With no one wishing to comment this evening, we now move on to comments. Staff, clerk, attorney, and commission comments. Does the deputy administrator have any comments this evening?
No, thank you.
Does the city planner have any comments this evening?
No, thank you.
Does the city attorney have any comments this evening?
No comment.
Commissioner Langill, do you have any comments this evening?
Just a quick question, just verification, the violation list, it's 0 again this meeting. Does that mean there has been no violations in this city?
That they're aware of.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Point taken. Commissioner Deyoung, do you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Stafford, do you have any comments?
The only comment I would make is I watched the last meeting on YouTube, and then I regularly watch the city council meetings. And I just want to encourage anyone, the mics are not magic. They can't hear you if you're sitting all the way back here like this. There was an administration member that did that on one of the city council meetings, and I couldn't hear a word he said. So just all of us, please keep in mind, have the microphone on, be at the microphone speaking, and then turn it off when you're done. Other than that, no other comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown, do you have any comments this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to thank the city attorney for the training she just gave us. Thank you very much.
You lost your turn.
You passed.
Okay.
You lost your turn.
Okay, fine.
Chair, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are doing the infrastructure tours. We took 7 people out last Friday. We went to the library, museum, the dispatch center. You know, we went all the way around the city. So we have those on Thursdays. Just let our planning department know if you are wanting to go on one. And of course, you're limited to how many can go. The other thing is the transportation, the museum, DOT Transportation Museum out at the airport has invited us to go on a tour as well. So there's kind of a mini tour of our museum and their museum just to put everything in perspective. If you're interested in that, let us know as well.
Thank you. That was an excellent tour.
What time is the tour start on Thursday?
It will be next Thursday, and they start at 1 o'clock.
As chair, I have comments, especially when it comes to the land swap with the airport and the museum. I'm not sure what parcel will end up being swapped, if one is. I think it's an excellent idea. I think the airport would stand the improvement of having that rail access. I also would like to investigate public-private partnership between the two museums so there's not a competing effect. The Wasilla Public Library and the Transportation Museum should think of a mutually beneficial idea for both parties. That's my comment.
You mean the Wasilla Museum, not the library?
Yeah, I mean the Wasilla Museum.
I thought we were having a trolley. We're gonna have a trolley between the two or something.
That was mentioned.
It was mentioned. Yeah,
I
but,
mean, something cool.
yeah. Yesterday it would have been cool.
Well, it wouldn't have blown off the road. It would have been cold.
Our trolley season is very short.
Very. Well, no, we could put snow tires on it.
No, that's all the comments I have tonight. Is there, with no further business at hand, I'm adjourning the meeting unless an objection is raised. Hearing no objection, the meeting is adjourned at 8 p.m.